Guys, welcome back to another unique episode of R.E.D. It's the everyday podcast for the everyday people. And as always, my name is Rashawn Jr., and I am your host this week, bringing you school news each and every single week. Now, before we get into our theme in connection with this particular show, I want to extend a warm thank you to all of those whom have subscribed to our channel in the past week and those who religiously follow us on TikTok for updates and well-meaning discussions. We also cherish those who are able to express comments such as, "That's my school," and we really appreciate your channel. All of these things continue to bring success to this channel and allow me to come to you guys each and every week, even when it's not always easy to do so. Our theme in connection with episode number 36 is how can a parent help children or their child deal with failure? Well, if you are a young person and perhaps you're trying to learn how to traverse this wicked world we live in, how is it that you can cope with failure? If you're a parent, how is it that you can help your child to deal with failure? Sooner or later, your children will face some type of failure or setback. Well, what can you do to help them recover? Our theme today is going to discuss 2 ways in which you can be able to help your child to recover from failure. The first thing to consider is what you should know. The second thing to consider is what you can do. What you should know. Failure is a part of life. Oftentimes, we as humans fail to acknowledge that making mistakes is a part of life. No matter who you are, no matter what your intentions, you are going to meet failure at some point in your life. However, setbacks can have a positive side. They provide opportunities for children to develop resilience. Children are not necessarily born with the quality of resilience, but they can acquire it. My husband and I have observed that it is better when children learn to deal with failure instead of pretending it didn't happen, says a mother named Laura. They can learn how to persevere when things don't go right. Consider this thought. Many children deal poorly with failure. Well, why is that? Oftentimes, parents try to shield their children from the sad emotions that are often followed by failure. But some children have not learned to deal with failure because their parents shield them from accountability. For example, if a child receives a bad grade, some parents will automatically blame the teacher. If a child has a conflict with a friend, his parents will automatically blame the friend. Now, as a school bus driver, I can say that this happens more often than not. Parents think that they're doing their child a justice or are protecting them from these challenges by means of shielding them from these consequences. But is that realistic? Here's something to consider. Really though, how can children learn to take responsibility for their mistakes if parents shield them from all consequences? One of the biggest challenges in connection with what they call Gen Z today is that parents have an altered version of what it means to raise a child. The goal in raising a child is not to create a carbon copy of oneself, but rather is to raise a responsible adult. The quality of resilience will get your child on that path of responsibility readily. So as a parent, what is it that you can do to help your child deal with failure? Number 1, teach your children that their actions have consequences. One principle that I really enjoy applying in my personal circumstances: whatever a person is sowing, this he will also reap. Actions realistically have outcomes. Damages have costs. Mistakes have consequences. Children should know the principle of cause and effect and feel a measure of responsibility for their part in what happened. Avoid making or shifting the blame and making excuses for your children. Instead, let them experience reasonable consequences that are appropriate for children their age. Of course, the child should also be able to see clearly the connection between wrong actions and their consequences. Well, why is this so important? Because if a child is shielded from their consequences by their parent, and let's just say hypothetically, the parent dies or they outgrow their living circumstances, without accepting responsibility for their actions, a child can easily fall prey to unintended consequences based on unintentional choices. So a child must know that their actions have consequences before they set foot in the real world. It's vital to their success. Here's our second point. Help your children to find solutions. Failure can be painful, but it is not the end of the world. Help your children focus on finding solutions instead of getting sidetracked by the seeming unfairness of a situation. Emphasis on unfairness of a situation. I was in a TikTok live recently, and someone said that taking a child's cell phone is a form of abuse. A child may need a parent to guide their perception on what abuse truly is. Well, that's what the information is helping us to understand. They need to be able to understand that sometimes things may seem unfair in our lives, but that does not necessarily mean that they are unfair. For example, if your son has failed a test at school, help him see how he can take control of the situation by studying harder and resolving to do better next time. If your daughter has had an argument with a friend, help her figure out how she can take the initiative to make amends, regardless of who is primarily at fault. Well, why is that so important? You allow your child to be able to develop reasonableness. They're able to manifest sound thinking so as to come to a successful outcome. But if they don't hone in on those qualities, humility, resilience, then now they could be setting themselves up for failure in a broader spectrum, in a more devastating of circumstances. Here's our third point. Teach your children to be modest. Telling your child that he or she is the best at something is neither realistic nor helpful. After all, even children who excel academically will not receive a perfect grade every time. And children who excel at some sport will not always win. Children who have a modest view of themselves are actually better able to cope with failures and setbacks. Well, why is that? Because a modest individual recognizes that by putting forth effort to make a better way for tomorrow, he focuses on what he can realistically do. He'll be able to acknowledge that he can't always control the outcome of something he puts his 100% effort and attention into, because time and unforeseen occurrences befall us all. Teaching children resilience, like teaching any skill, takes time and effort, but there will be a payoff when they enter adolescence and go through it. Teens with good coping skills are less likely to turn to dangerous quick fixes when they're overwhelmed, says the book Letting Go with Love and Confidence. They are more likely to thrive in new and unexpected situations. Of course, the benefits of resilience continue on into adulthood. So here's a tip. Set the example. Remember, how you handle life's disappointments will help train your children how to handle theirs. In review, how is it that a parent can help a child to deal with failure? Number 1, teach your children that their actions have consequences. Number 2, help your children find solutions. And number 3, teach your children to be modest. You see, when you apply these things in their entirety, you have a wonderful formula for teaching your child how to deal with and overcome failures. Our first story is going to express just what can happen when children are not guided in the way in which they should walk. It's going to highlight just some of the dangerous choices that young people are making today and showing themselves to be indifferent in other ways in their personal lives. Barrington teens arrested, charged after alleged assault on high school student. 5 teenagers in Barrington were arrested after a fight that severely injured a high school student. Police said the victim was walking home from school on April 24th when a group of classmates beat him up. According to officials, the student suffered serious facial injuries. The incident happened in a field near the Barrington Department of Public Works. Officials said the fight was recorded by another student. The victim's parents called police once he arrived home. Police said they have since obtained videos of the fight. Officials said 2 15-year-old males, a 16-year-old male, a 17-year-old male, and an 18-year-old male were charged with felony assault, battery, and disorderly conduct. The 18-year-old was identified as J.V. Hogarth. All 5 teens charged have been arraigned and released. How unsettling it is when young people take these matters into their own hands. They don't think about the regard for another person's life. And of course, we don't have the full context in connection with this story. However, what can you guys do to protect yourselves? Be aware of your surroundings. Do not develop the mentality that it can't happen to me simply because it hasn't happened to you. Look for ways to avoid unnecessary issues with your peers and be willing to walk away in the case of a crisis. For the student that was injured in connection with this circumstance in Barrington, we wish you a well recovery. And as for the families involved in connection with this very, very difficult circumstance, we send our full support, and we are hoping that you guys will be able to act with wisdom to get successful results. In this following story, we're visiting the strange circumstances that surround an inappropriate relationship with a teacher and a student. We're now in Hudson, Wisconsin. A Western Wisconsin elementary school teacher is accused of having an inappropriate relationship with one of her students, according to a complaint filed in St. Croix County on Thursday. 24-year-old Madison Bergman of St. Paul was charged with 1 count of first-degree child sexual assault with a child under age 13. According to charging documents, police were called to Rivercrest Elementary School in Hudson regarding inappropriate conduct between a current teacher and a 5th grade student, an 11-year-old boy. Officers were presented with screenshots of multiple text conversations between victims and Bergman talking about their encounters, which allegedly occurred inside the classroom during lunch or after school. The texts were discovered when the victim had his phone taken away by his mother after she caught him talking on the phone with Bergman earlier in the week. Charges say the victim told investigators that he talked to Bergman almost daily and that he got her number when he went skiing with her and his mother at Afton Alps over winter break. Bergman also told police she received the boy's number, then in case they were separated at the park. Inside Bergman's backpack, an officer reports they found a folder with the victim's name on it containing many handwritten notes. The victim later told police that he and Bergman would write each other notes throughout the day. Many of the letters talk about the two kissing each other, court documents say. In one of the letters, Bergman allegedly wrote, "One of my cousins is in the 5th grade, and I can't imagine a man talking to her how we talk. I know we have a special relationship, and I do love you more than anyone in the world, but I have to be the adult here and stop. Bergman was let out on a $25,000 signature bond and is not allowed on school property or at school events. Her next court appearance will be scheduled for May the 30th. How difficult it can be for a parent trying to select a positive school in which their child can learn, thrive, and be dealt with in an appropriate manner. But they're constantly bombarded by these circumstances that teachers are getting involved in, romantically pursuing underage students, ergo minors. We know that this is going to affect this young boy later down the line. Continue to keep lines of communication open, and parents, strive to not blame yourselves. Look for practical ways now that you can be able to help your son to deal with this very unique circumstance. We wish you all of the best there in Wisconsin. This follow-up story follows that same train of thought in connection with a teacher taking matters into their own hands to satisfy their own pleasures and desires. Middle school teacher accused of exchanging nude photos with student. We're now in Gatesville, Texas. An 8th grade teacher is charged with indecency with a child and possession of child pornography with intent to distribute after a high school student told authorities the two exchanged nude photos and engaged in sexting on Instagram. On April 11th, the Gatesville Independent School District received reports that a student allegedly received inappropriate messages from Christine Page Cockrell, an earth science teacher at Gatesville Junior High School in Texas. The 15-year-old victim told investigators he and Cockrell began exchanging sexually explicit messages and photos on Instagram in October 2023. Cockrell allegedly sent nude photographs of her breasts and asked the victim for nude photographs of himself, according to criminal complaint affidavits. Cockrell admitted to messaging students on Instagram, but could not recall whether a photograph of her breast had been sent in the chats when questioned by the school district. When investigators spoke with the victim and his mother, they were told the nude photographs were sent between October 8th, 2023 and November 11th, 2023. But the two started talking sexually through Instagram in January 2023 when the victim was in 8th grade, the complaint states. The conversation involved meeting up for sex, but they did not do so. During the conversations, Cockrell told the student about many of her past sexual partners and the things that she enjoyed sexually, according to the complaint. The complaint also claims that Cockrell mentioned that she wanted to take a younger guy under her wing and teach him stuff, like 16 years old. While speaking with authorities, Cockrell allegedly revealed a former student who now lives in Ohio propositioned her for sex. Detectives contacted that former student and learned that sometime after March 4, 2023, his 17th birthday, Cockrell messaged him via Instagram to tell him that he was cute. When the student told Cockrell that he was still a high school student, Cockrell replied, "No one has to know," the detectives wrote in the complaint. On Friday, the school district announced it had placed Cockrell, whom it did not identify at the time, on administrative leave pending an investigation. The teacher eventually submitted her resignation and is no longer allowed on Gatesville ISD property, according to the district. On Thursday, 2 warrants for improper relationship between educator and student were issued, and Gatesville ISD police arrested Cockrell on Friday. Tragedy strikes when a teacher crosses that line, that sacred bond between a teacher and a student, now dealing with another individual whom is abusing that authority. Parents, continue to remain vigilant. Continue to find out what's going on in your child's life so that you can lessen these effects or these potential things from happening. We'll continue to update you should any further information come forward in regards to this story. Our following story follows another uniqueness that persons in school have to deal with today. The question of safety is what really comes to mind, and it's not easy to know when or where these things are going to happen. Two teens face charges after stray bullet from shooting grazed Dunbar High School student's head. We're now in the location of Washington. Two teens are facing charges after a stray bullet from a shooting outside D.C.'s Dunbar High School grazed a student's head. Police have identified one of the suspects as 18-year-old Azari Graves. Officials say Graves was in court over the weekend and was ordered to be held without bond until his next preliminary hearing. Azari Graves is that name. The other suspect arrested in the case is 17-year-old Saki Frost. Fox 5 confirmed with a D.C. court spokesperson and the U.S. Attorney's Office that Frost has been charged as an adult in this case. He appeared in court Monday and was ordered to be held without bond. In court documents obtained by Fox 5, the two defendants were identified by a witness. Police also identified the defendants as Shooter 1 and Shooter 2 in court documents, further indicating they are the two people captured on surveillance holding a firearm in their hands. In the surveillance video, police referenced a group of about 15 teens are seen running down the alley near the school at the time of the shooting. Court documents identify both teens as Dunbar students. Both are D.C. residents and face charges of assault with a dangerous weapon, carrying a pistol without license, and endangerment with a firearm. The sad thing about this particular story that you'll find is that these young persons are trying to end or damage the life of another person because of their personal lives and their personal circumstances. When you think about how young people today are trying to find out where they want to go in life, it's sad to know that some young people have made that decision already. When these two individuals got involved in this particular choice of conduct, they have already showed persons whom they're trying to be for the rest of their lives. Now, of course, persons can change. We're not saying that persons can't change, and we hope that they do change. But unfortunately, the sad reality of this is young people today struggle with knowing when to walk away from a circumstance and when to stay put. We don't know as to what's going to continue to happen in the high school and the entire educational systems today. We're not sure, but take caution, guys. Do not allow these stories to scare you beyond the point of living, but find balance and then strive to apply what you're learning so that you can protect yourself and those whom you love and care for. We wish you guys the best there in Washington, and all of the students who may have been around this circumstance continue to be in a situation or provide or be in a circumstance. Surround yourself with persons who can be able to provide you with the help and assistance that you may need. Our next story continues the same line of violence, the same mentality that's brewing in the school systems today. Grant High School student killed in Sacramento shooting, suspect on the loose. Our location now is Sacramento. A high school student was killed in a shooting earlier Sunday morning in Sacramento, just weeks before his graduation. Officers responded to the 3100th block of Buckman Street shortly before 1 a.m., where they found an 18-year-old man with a life-threatening gunshot wound. Despite life-saving measures, the man died on the scene. The family confirmed to CBS 13 that the victim was Jeremiah Walker, who was going to graduate from Grant High School in 2 weeks. The school just had its prom last weekend, and now Walker's family is planning his funeral. One neighbor said they believe this was a drive-by shooting. They remember hearing cars speeding fast and thinking the gunshots were a car crash. Another neighbor said they heard anywhere from 6 to 8 gunshots around 1 a.m. In the wake of this tragedy, the district's crisis intervention team will be at Grant Union High School on Monday as we come together to grieve and heal. This was a statement in connection with the school. Homicide detectives took over the investigation. The police department wants everyone to be vigilant as a suspect is on the loose. Police are asking neighbors and witnesses to step forward with any video or information that can lead to an arrest. Frightening things that happen in our neighborhoods. It's not easy to know that there is an active shooter, a suspect out on the loose, someone that can bring harm to you and your family. Well, to the Walker family, I know personally that because my brother fell asleep in death this same particular way, by means of a drive-by shooting, the devastation that you will feel or that you are feeling because of this is extreme. And there are going to be no words for a long time to help you get through the trauma, to help you get through the pain. There's going to be a period of frustration, anger, and hurt. We love you. We love you. And we know that there are people who are going to surround you to help you get through this trial. We're sorry to hear about the loss of Jeremiah, not only because he was young, but because this was unforeseen tragedy. This was something no one could have predicted. As you continue to strive forward in the future, look for ways to keep his memory alive and bring yourself comfort each and every day. From the R.E.D. podcasting team, we love you and we wish you guys all of the best there in Sacramento. In our follow-up story, I found this to be very unique because oftentimes on the show we cover some of the darkest stories that are going around the country and sometimes throughout the entire world. But there are some moments when that lighthouse of news turns just ever so slightly and shines upon persons such as Elliot Tanner. He finished high school at 8. Now a Minnesota boy reaches a new milestone. 15-year-old Elliot Tanner just received his master's degree from the University of Minnesota. We're now in the location of Bloomington, Minnesota. Now here's a note from the editor. This story originally aired on May 5th, 2019. Since then, Elliot Tanner received his bachelor's degree from the University of Minnesota at age 13. Last month, at 15, Elliot graduated from the U of M with his master's degree in physics. Elliot is already in the third year of his PhD program doing research on dark matter. If all goes as planned, Elliot will be Dr. Tanner by the time he's 18. If we told you a 10-year-old feels at home in a high school pre-calculus class, you might be impressed. But Elliot Tanner isn't just keeping up with college-bound high school students, he's tutoring them. I just take great pleasure in teaching people, Elliot says. Moments later, Elliot spins in a dizzying circle as 10-year-olds are prone to do. He should be in elementary school, and he's way above my high school students that are about to graduate, Bloomington Kennedy math teacher April Baden says. Yet none of that should come as a surprise. Elliot has already aced college algebra, physics for scientists and engineers, trigonometry, and calculus, earning a 4.0 GPA as he nears the end of his second year at Normandale Community College. Again, Elliot is 10, an age that would typically put him in 4th grade. The interesting thing about this story is that mom notes Elliot spoke his first words at 7 months. By a year, he was completing short sentences. But from the start, mom says Elliot's true love was numbers. By 4, Elliot was giving math lessons to anyone who would listen. Elliot's only failure, kindergarten. He was too academically advanced to fit in with the other kids. Elliot's parents looked to homeschooling as a result, followed by online classes. Elliot does check in with his mother in between his college classes and his tutoring of college students. At home in St. Louis Park, Elliot enjoys playing guitar and hanging out with his neighborhood friends. They ride bikes together and play Dungeons and Dragons. Both parents have heard judgmental whispers that perhaps they are pushing their son too hard. Mom says, "We're not pushing, we're being pulled. He's taking us for a ride." Soon, Elliot's ride will be taking another turn. He's already visited the University of Minnesota and plans to attend in the fall. Well, I want to say on behalf of this podcast that we do not frown upon excellence. The fact that Elliot Tanner was able to accomplish this at just 8 years old and is now moving forward rapidly in his life is proof that you should always reach for the stars. And so he really highlights just what a person can accomplish if they put in enough effort to reach their goals. Of course, we're not saying that the average high school student, middle school student is going to be some type of genius beyond all compare. But take the principles of Mr. Tanner here and may it fuel you to accomplish something extraordinary. Let us know what you're trying to accomplish in your life in the comments. We look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. In this following story, note just what could happen from being in certain circumstances at the wrong time. 2 high school students shot, killed at party in Hartford apartment. 2 high school students were shot and killed at a party in an apartment in Hartford over the weekend. According to police, there was a party inside of an apartment on Hydrexon Avenue on Saturday around 10:30 p.m. It is believed there were about 10 to 12 people there, and all of them knew each other. Officers responded to the apartment after getting multiple 911 calls about shots fired. Investigators are currently working to determine what happened between the people inside of the apartment and what led to the shooting. At the apartment complex, police found 2 unresponsive males with gunshot wounds in the building stairwell. The males, later identified as 19-year-old Levante Brown of Hartford and 16-year-old Aiden Davis of Bloomfield, were transported to Hartford Hospital. Both later died of their injuries. The shooting remains under investigation. Police have spoken to several people that were at the party and said they are being cooperative. Now, of course, we aren't sure as to what the circumstances are, but 2 lives were lost because of gun violence. Young persons, one 19, and then one being 16-year-old. To the Brown and Bloomfield family, please accept our condolences from the R.E.D team. Please find strength by means of family and friends, and strive your best to continue to take these deaths, these losses, one day at a time. And we reassure you that things will get better. We wish you guys all of the best there in Hartford. In this following story, come to Dunwoody and notice the uniqueness of the loss of this individual's life. We express our condolences to the families of this individual, and we hope that you're going to make a well and speedy recovery as you deal with this emotional difficulty. Juvenile facing involuntary manslaughter charge after medical emergency led to Dunwoody High School student's death. The student, identified as 15-year-old Mia Dieguez, died after a medical emergency on Monday. Our location is Atlanta. DeKalb County School District Police arrested a juvenile in connection with a medical emergency that led to a Dunwoody High School student's death. The student, identified as 15-year-old Mia Dieguez, died after a medical emergency on Monday. The DeKalb County School District said in a statement Tuesday, the juvenile is facing involuntary manslaughter and reckless conduct charges. They have also been taken to the DeKalb Regional Youth Detention Center. DeKalb County Fire and crews responded to the school where they found a 15-year-old student in cardiac arrest. The school district said DCSD investigators are still investigating the matter. It's a brief story, but it does highlight the challenges that young people have to face when they go to school each and every day. Now, for the parents of Mia, the family of Mia, we know the struggles of losing someone. We send our condolences, and we wish you as a family the best as you strive to deal with this new, very difficult circumstance. Here's our follow-up story. Again, teachers following that code of misconduct in connection with dealing with students. Was it accidental? Did the teacher really know what was going to happen, well, you'll be the judge. Drunk middle school teaching assistant arrested after student drank her vodka thinking it was Mountain Dew. A Georgia middle school teacher assistant was arrested and canned after a student drank her bottle of vodka thinking it was Mountain Dew. With her blood alcohol level sitting at 3 times the legal limit, police said. Alexandra Nicole Lambert, 39, was fired from the Morgan County Middle School after a student took a sip out of a bottle that allegedly belonged to her, believing it was just soda. Instead, the student threw out the drink and alerted another teacher who brought the matter to the principal's office on Thursday afternoon. Lambert allegedly admitted that the bottle was full of vodka, but claimed she brought it to school accidentally. Morgan County Sheriff's Office were called in at around 1:15 p.m. and gave Lambert a breathalyzer test, which registered her blood alcohol level at 0.259. The reading was more than 3 times Georgia's legal limit for driving at 0.08. Lambert was arrested and charged with a citation for disorderly conduct, which involved public drunkenness. She was booked at the Morgan County Sheriff's Office Adult Detention Facility. An attorney for Lambert could not be immediately reached for comment. If you were a parent, would you feel as though your child was safe in the care of a certain school environment? Now, of course, this could have been accidental. We don't know as to what the circumstance was, but we do know what the consequence was. We aren't sure what the circumstance is surrounding what happened regarding this teacher and this student. But what we do know is it can be difficult to assess the situation properly. We know that her legal limit had been exceeded by 3 times as much, and the state of Georgia does not play when it comes to such things. But now, as a teacher's assistant, do you have the full freeness of speech to say it was simply an accident, or was there more foul play involved? To the young person that drank vodka, we are so sorry to hear about that. Vodka is a very strong drink, and it does burn the throat. So we wish you the best, and we hope that it did not cause any other symptoms or challenges in connection with the digestive system. Our following story, we now venture into my home state. We're now in New Jersey. It's just a small update in connection with some of the activity that's been going on in one of our local high schools. East Brunswick High School placed on lockdown following fight. We're now in East Brunswick, New Jersey. Police responded to East Brunswick High School Wednesday morning for a fight involving multiple students. The incident was reported around 9:29 a.m. and no arrests or injuries were reported, police said. Before police officers arrived, they learned the fight had dispersed in multiple directions. The school was placed on lockdown out of an abundance of caution until the incident de-escalated and was brought under control, police said. An investigation will be conducted by school administrators, police made mention. Nothing further in connection with this story, other than the fact that students are becoming more and more violent by the second. It does cause one to worry about the future. If this anger and this rage continues in the school environment, what is going to be left? If you destroy everyone and everything around you, what is going to be left? Well, what about you students that are concerned or are afraid for your lives in these circumstances? Well, what can you do? Communicate. Talk with your parents about effective strategies that you can apply to be able to protect yourself from such danger. Look for ways to avoid being around places where unnecessary danger could develop, and strive your best, as difficult as this may be in our era of social media and wanting to be on the in crowd, strive your best to keep quiet and mind your own business. These 3 principles can be able to help you to protect yourself as you traverse the school and some of the things that you'll have to see as you continue to endure through it. Well, guys, we've reached the final 2 stories of episode number 36. What a wonderful a time it's been to be able to discuss some of these tragedies and to be able to put a positive twist on how you can cope with these challenges as they unfold in your life each and every day. Look for ways to be positive but realistic. Strive to find balance as you traverse through these particular stories. Here's our follow-up. Philadelphia high school teacher killed in murder-suicide, police say. Our location now is Philadelphia. A special education compliance monitor and teacher at Olney High School was killed in what police believe was a murder-suicide in Philadelphia's Grays Ferry neighborhood. According to police, officers responded to an apartment along the 1300s block of South 30th Street Monday afternoon to find Andrea Glaze, 36, shot in the face. In the apartment, officials said, they also found Rick Harper, 42, with a gunshot wound to the head the police believe was self-inflicted. Police officials said Wednesday that they believe Harper shot Glaze than himself. Both were pronounced dead at the scene, according to police. The school notes that she will be deeply missed and our condolences go out to her family, students, our staff, and the entire school community. In Glaze's memory, the school has set up a scholarship, the Andrea Glaze Only Love Scholarship. School officials said the scholarship will be delivered to a graduate each year who demonstrates only love through their actions. Olney High planned a Monday, May 13, 2024 vigil for Glaze. The interesting and sad thing that comes with this story is the suddenness. And we've stressed the suddenness on the show quite a few times tonight. When it's sudden, it can be difficult to deal with. It can be just as dramatic as someone taking their fist and punching you as hard in your chest as possible. You'll lose breath for a moment. You'll lose air for a moment, and you'll gasp, and the pain will settle in. And your head might throb, and you might cough to relinquish some of that trauma, that pain that you just felt. That is the trauma that this grieving family is going through. We love you. Why? Because it's not easy to go on without a family member. And that's the road that you're going to have to travel. It's the road that I have had to travel without my younger brother. And it is not an easy road. However, if you keep hope alive and you surround yourself by those whom you truly love and that care for you, and we can't overemphasize that point enough, you will find the comfort you need to meet with success. We wish you the best as you strive to do your best with this circumstance. Our condolences in your behalf. Our final story, we are concluding it very, very uniquely. It's not every day you hear a teacher taking this line of action emotionally. Dr. Edward L. Wiggum, elementary school teacher accused of slapping autistic student arrested. We're in Cutler Bay, Florida. Police on Wednesday arrested a Cutler Bay teacher accused of slapping an 8-year-old boy with autism. The teacher was identified as Herbal Barkley. Barkley has been employed with the district since October 2023. Isaiah Torres' mother spoke with 7 News and said that her son came home on Tuesday afternoon from his school at Dr. Edward L. Wiggum Elementary in Cutler Bay with a red mark on his cheek, jaw, and neck. Video shared by the family showed her talking to her son after school. Parents dropping off their children at school Wednesday morning expressed their frustration after learning about the alleged assault. Torres was mortified after she saw her son's face when he got back from school. Her son is on medication, which his mother said limits his ability to show emotion. However, the images and the conversation between mother and son after school explains plenty. She said that the school has since fired the teacher and also said the state's attorney's office will be contacting her. Parents are now paying closer attention to what is happening in their children's classroom. The mother said she is angry at how her son was treated at his elementary school. Torres' mother said she is going to take him to the urgent care to get an x-ray on the side of his face. She said it is unclear when her son will return to school. While Barkley wasn't booked into jail, he was given a notice to appear in court. Now here's a dynamic that happens more often than not. We're not talking about the incident of the child being slapped, but we're talking about a broader perspective. Number one, it makes mention here in our source that parents are now starting to pay attention more carefully and closely as to what's going on in their child's classroom. As a parent, you must be fully aware of what's going on in your child's classroom at all times. Why? Why is that important? Because that's the role of a parent. Being a parent is a full-time job all of its own. And so you need to be proactive to prevent circumstances like this, because at this point, it's a little too late. Mr. Torres has been assaulted. This teacher slapped him hard. But now parents want to pay attention. No, there must have been signs prior to this that could have been going on in the classroom that may have been overlooked by parents. That's the first area to give attention to. Parents must be aware. Number two, to blame the school district for the personal choice of another human being is not fair, to say the least. The school district has no control over what a staff member will do with their free will any more than they have control over what another student will do to their fellow classmate based on their free will. We all have a choice to make. And the tragedies that surround us are often the product of people whom are tired, worn down, emotionally damaged, emotionally crushed. So, as a parent, what can you do? Strive to spend time with your child. Do not allow for a second anything else to become more important than your love for your child and the time that you spend with them, because only you can give them that quality time. Well, guys, it has been another powerful episode. Stories packed to the brim that have moved you to incitement and have moved you to feel and to think. What was our theme? How to help children deal with failure. Remember those 3 points of our discussion. Number 1, teach your children that their actions have consequences. Number 2, help your children to find solutions. And number 3, teach your children to be modest. If you continue to do so, no matter what the circumstance is going to be, no matter what they're going to face in school or in their personal life, they will meet success and come off victorious. As always, guys, it has been a pleasure to be here with you. This has been R.E.D. It's the Everyday Podcast for the Everyday People. Peace out.